So, welcome for another edition of our limited series podcast, The Executive Digest. So, it's really great. We have Tim Jenks here, who has caused transformation in more technology companies than you and I will ever know. And he is currently the CEO of PowerLight, which is, I like to say, does power at a distance through lasers. Tim, did I get that right? And how would you describe what you guys are up to?
You absolutely got it right. Great to be with you, Adam. PowerLight Technologies, we're based in Kent, Washington. What we do is energy distribution. Essentially, we distribute it to the edge, the distant edge, so we can deliver power using lasers when and where you need it to really mission critical areas. And really, everybody needs data, and more AI and edge computing is happening, and power is often the problem. But a big one right now is also autonomous vehicles, being able to do wireless power to autonomous vehicles, and we're delivering energy at a distance with wireless power beaming.
And if I remember correctly, you can get this power up to like orbital letters, let alone to the other side of a fire-ravaged Maui.
I would say there is no limit to where we can go with the technology. A laser beam is generally a straight line, but the number of straight lines that you can connect to really low Earth orbit, even take power and distribute it on the lunar surface when we're operating with an infrastructure on the moon. Essentially, there's no limits to where this power can go, and we're just applying electricity with light.
Yay! Star Trek is almost here. So, what are the most important risks and challenges that your company and your industry is facing right now?
I would highlight two things in that, Adam. The first one is that this is a new technology, and essentially acceptance requires proof of concept, which we are doing in big ways. And so people are beginning to realize that power beaming is not only a concept, it's really a solution to providing wireless power when and where you need it. When you go to autonomous vehicles, particularly things like drones, applications for them are some limited by regulatory concerns, because essentially, if we're flying lots of drones, those all have FAA requirements. And so ultimately, it just means that the early adopters tend to be military. But ultimately, the range of applications for what you can do with autonomous vehicles, particularly autonomous vehicles that have perpetual endurance, that really is transformational to the kinds of things that drones, for example, could do.
Can you share any of what your special technical secret sauce is and what PowerLight is doing?
Sure, the what we use as a solution is essentially a system solution that uses a high power laser transmitter together with a photovoltaic receiver. Ultimately, the transmitter is putting the energy through either free space when you're just shining a laser in the air or in space, or it could be over a fiber if a tether were appropriate. And then on the receiver side, you need to transform the light back to energy, and that involves photovoltaic semiconductors. And then if you're doing that in free space, a third one is you want to do it safely. And obviously, our secret sauce does involve safety and security of the power beam so that it can be used readily by people with a power charging problem or a power accessibility problem. Those things are three areas of where our technology brings them together into a power beaming solution.
So now we get to the secret sauce about your teams. So, what do you believe are the key ingredients for building high performance teams?
You've known me a long time, Adam, and high performance teams are the center of everything in a company. Because if you don't have a high performance team, it's real hard to argue that you're going to last a long time. But in technology, it's always the given that you have to have good people, and the good people in technology have to have the right technical skills and be deep and expert. But they really have to be open to the fact that they don't know everything. So they have to be open to learning, and they have to be open to learning new ways of working with each other. Because it's like a football team. You can have a great quarterback, but if you don't have a front line to protect the quarterback, he's going to get sacked. Pardon the sports analogy, but you just can't have a high performance technical team that is made up 100% of individual island stars. You have to have people who are willing to learn and willing to learn how to work with each other. And that is what makes them high performance, not just their skills. The skills is what they bring to the table. It's how they work together that actually makes them a high performance team. So being open to that learning, I think, is critical and often missing.
Right. So next question, Tim, is what are some of the issues you see when teams aren't able to deliver on their commitments?
Oh my, well, essentially, a company exists for a purpose and it's trying to deliver to commitments it makes to customers. I mean, that's why we get together, and then we do that in a company as a team. But in technology, there's always a very high rate of change. And in our business at PowerLight Technologies, we're dealing with both uh, our technology, which is new and transformative for delivering power at the edge. But certain customers, like, for example, in autonomy or autonomous vehicles and drones, they are in a new technology and a new realm also. So the rate of change is incredibly high. So if you don't make a delivery and your competitor does, you may not get a second chance. So there really needs to be commitment on part of teams and executives to do it right the first time and to mitigate any risks of failure to deliver. And if you don't do that, then you will be left out. And if you're left out, you may never recover. So essentially, it's incumbent on executives, managers, to do everything in their power to create commitment in teams to eliminate the chance of not delivering. That is the ticket to survival, which in turn is the ticket to success.
Yeah, as they say, it's like a nonlinear cost of being late. It's market share you may never regain if you're.
Yes, you will never regain, and then you will also lose the chance, you know, of investor confidence. So not only do you have the issue of, you know, losing market share, but, your ability to continue to perform on the path is interrupted because now you have a track record of failure instead of a track record of success. It's
Well,
an irrecoverable sin.
so here's where you get to share your definitive, take it to the bank wisdom. What's your executive hot take that you are willing to share with other executives?
I think that as an executive, the most important part is leadership. And in leadership of a company, it's sharing the objective. I think as an executive, you have to share in the delivery of your goals. Be clear and actionable on your goals, but then you have to live with your team in creating the path to success. What I mean by that is you can't say, you guys have this job. Instead, you have to say, we have this job. And I think executive leadership is always about leading from the front. It's not about standing in the back and then blaming. I'm really focused on the idea of being with the team and involved in the team and knowing what is going on to add value, to support, to help people when they need it. People aren't always willing to come to a C-suite executive and say, hey, I need your help. And so giving them the opportunity to do that by being present, giving them the opportunity by being helpful, giving them the opportunity by actually diving in when required. I think these are what caused that communication with the C-suite, with the executives to improve. And so it's living with the team as part of the goal.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So critical. All right, here we go. What are two blogs, podcasts, articles, or books that you recommend for our listeners?
I probably spent 25 years as a road warrior and a lot of time on airplanes and a lot of that across oceans. I've read a lot. And so I think I'll just highlight, of course, in addition to my favorite on project management, which is the risk upfront idea that you have certain familiarity with. Two others that I really like. Angela Duckworth wrote a book called Grit. And Grit talks about how people perform, how organizations perform, but also the keys or tickets to causing organizational endurance, perseverance, tenacity. And so I think Grit is a great read, and it's a great collective read when you're building high performance teams. Another one that I really is a book that Atul Gawande wrote called The Checklist Manifesto. He applies, if you don't know Atul Gawande, he's a very accomplished physician and surgeon, but he's also been an executive. And how you apply learning, whether it's in surgery or operating airplanes or building skyscrapers. So it's really about how groups of people get complicated things done. It's a terrific read and it's fun. So Grit, Checklist Manifesto, these are two of my favorites.
Excellent. And we'll get all the information. We'll even throw in that link to Risk Upfront. Disclaimer, that is my book and such. And are you now ready for the unexpected question?
Absolutely.
What is your favorite vegetable?
My favorite vegetable is the artichoke. It is both prickly, and when treated wrong, it's a real problem. But when you treat it, it is just wonderful.
Spoken like a
Artichoke is it.
true Californian.
There we go. There we go, Adam. I think, and let me just be silly and connect that back, because the artichoke, when you get it, it's like, what do you do with this? So you have to kind of look over the horizon and where you're going with this vegetable, and then you can really get things done that are great.
Yeah, I'll tell one little anecdote on my thing. So when I was at Stanford and my parents came out from New York to visit for the first time, in Stanford food service, the vegetable was the artichoke. And just to watch the look on my parents' face, true bravery on what do I do now and such. So yeah, I think it's always a memorable moment when people have their first artichoke.
There you go. In my case, I was a little kid. My father was in the military and he was stationed in Italy, and my mother could buy artichokes for a nickel a piece. And so I learned early to love artichokes.
All right, well done. On that note, we'll put a link on where one can buy artichokes. I'd like to thank you so much, Tim, for sharing your time and your wisdom. And I want to wish you a wonderful day.
Great to talk to you, Adam. Thanks for having me on the Executive Digest, and really enjoyed the chat. Take care.
Bye bye.